Hi. Okay, I just got finished filming my Christmas haul, so forgive the hair because I've had that Santa Claus hat on and it made me sweat and now my bangs are all crazy, but okay. This is part one of my three-part series about going gluten-free. In this part, I'm going to explain to you why I went gluten-free and just the, science behind why I did it. Last September, 4-ish months ago, I remember saying to my husband, be careful what you say to people because it's going to come back and bite you. It does it to me every single time. I said to my husband one day, these girls going gluten-free. They just think they're all that. They're only doing it because it's a fad. It's just a fad like being a vegetarian or do this or that or this or that. And I just poo-pooed the whole idea. Well, that was in September. Well, the beginning of October, one of our family members is having some health issues. And so we've all been kind of doing research to try to figure out, what's going on and what can we do to help. And my mom came across this book called Grain Brain. And she called me and told me that it was fantastic and she was sending me one immediately. She was going to go on Amazon from her house, which is 10 minutes away, and ordering and have this sent to my house because she wanted me to have my own copy. I said, okay. And I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know it was about going gluten-free at all, or I would have probably told her, oh, don't send it. I'm not doing that. I'm not interested. So the book came the 1st of October, and I was leaving on a flight the next morning for Houston. So I stuck it in my carry-on, and I thought, I'll flip through it on the way. I read the entire book on the flight from Tampa to Houston. 3-hour flight. I read the entire book. I might have skipped a few of the very scientific sections, but not many. And I was sold. I was absolutely sold on going gluten-free once I read this book. Now, I am not one to jump on bandwagons, follow fads. I don't do that because I've been burned enough times in my life to know if it's a fad or if it's a crazy kind of a diet, don't do it. It may work, but it's temporary. So what's the point, right? Well, there's something else that my mom and I have been discussing, and my daughters and I have been discussing, that helped convince me. And yeah, there's a few things that helped convince me that this guy was not crazy. One of the things was between my oldest daughter and my youngest daughter, they're 10 years apart. So between me picking up my oldest daughter or going to her high school and then going to my youngest daughter's high school 10 years, there was a huge difference in the girls. I didn't really notice that much in the boys, but in the girls, I noticed. There are always heavy girls. There's always going to be heavier girls. That's just, everybody's different sizes, right? But what I saw in my younger daughter's high school, it was bizarre. The girls all had guts that hung over their jeans. But weird, because they were not heavy anywhere else. Their arms weren't really heavy. Their legs didn't look heavy. But they had this weird spare tire, beer belly. I don't know what you call it, but a shape that girls have never been. And I had been noticing that for a few years. And I just thought, something is wrong. Also in America, everybody's getting fatter and fatter and fatter. I don't believe that all of a sudden we all decided to overeat as a nation. Are we all of a sudden all eating way more calories than before? Maybe some because of fast food, but I don't think we're all doing that. And I don't think we're suddenly all overeating. I know there's giant portions at the restaurants, but we bring half of it home or we don't finish it. So I just found it hard to believe that all of a sudden, within 10 or 15 years, we've all started eating massive amounts of food. There's got to be another key. Well, the key, I think, is in this book. The other thing that convinced me that this guy was on the right track. By the way, this book is by David Perlmutter, MD. Perlmutter, MD. He's right down the road from us. I think he's in Venice, Florida, or it might be, I can't remember, another town in South Florida. But anyway, my mom had mentioned to me one day, we're just driving around, and she said, have you noticed lately that there's all kind of memory care centers being built in our town, and we live in a small town, and there's been like 2 or 3 new centers built for old people, which is not unusual in Florida, but they're called memory care, and they're being built everywhere. So why are all of a sudden we're losing our memory? Kind of weird, don't you think? Why is Alzheimer's at absolute epidemic proportions? Kind of weird, don't you think? It's all in this book. Here's the deal. When I first realized that this book was talking about it talks about many things, not just going gluten-free, but it was talking about this is the grain brain. This is what the gluten is doing to our brains. But stop, because I said to myself, why would I quit eating bread? That's ridiculous. Bread has been around for thousands of years. Bread is all through the Bible. Why can't we have bread all of a sudden? The French still eat bread every day and they're not fat. Why can't we have bread? What's going on? What could be the problem with bread? It's been around too long for it to be the problem. It's the gluten in the bread. It's the gluten in the flour. Okay, what's the big deal? We've always had gluten in flour. Flour's always had gluten in it. Well, our food has been genetically engineered now. You've heard of GMO? Yeah. The wheat, according to this man, which I have no reason not to believe, the wheat that we eat now has 40 times the gluten that wheat had maybe in the 60s before they started messing with it. That's what's wrong. That's one of the things. It's gumming up our minds, our brains. It's this thick elastic. It's the stuff that makes the wheat stand up. Well, they want the wheat to be very, very strong, so they've genetically engineered it. They want our cakes and cookies and everything to be fluffier, so they've genetically engineered it. They want it to last on the shelf longer. The wheat's probably much bigger. So I'm not a scientist and I am not a farmer, but it's in this book. Please read this book if you're at all interested in figuring out why it goes into depression. Depression and anxiety is in absolute epic proportions. He connects it to the brain and to the gluten and to sugar too. But, it says a surprising truth about wheat, carbs, and sugar, your brain's silent killers. No one wants to get Alzheimer's. No one wants to have these diseases. No one wants to be depressed and have anxiety, but it's everywhere. Why? What is happening? I think it's in our food. Cancer too. Maybe cancer's part of it. I can't remember everything because I read this book in October. And once I read it, I was totally convinced. And I came home from being in Houston. I handed the book to my husband, and he never goes along with anything. And I said, I want you to read this book when you have time and report back to me. He read it in one day. He came in and he said, I'm all in. So we went gluten-free as of about October 5th. We have had a little bit of gluten at Thanksgiving, and we've had gluten this past week over Christmas. We do not have celiac disease, so, don't cheat if you have something extremely serious about it. I mean, obviously. But we can have a little bit, but we didn't have any for 3 months. No, October, November, 2 months. We didn't have any gluten. We're probably 95% gluten-free. If there's a little bit of gluten in some salad dressing at a restaurant, we might have it. But we're not eating the normal things that we always ate. Now, my next video is going to be how we did it and what we eat. And the following video will be the results. Just what happened. Did this make any difference in our lives? How do I really feel about it once I did it? Because this was so odd for me to do something like this. But the book just convinced me, because the things he was talking about are things I see every day. Finally, I felt like there was an explanation, and I thought, wow, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this anymore, and I'm excited to tell you how we did it and what we eat and what we didn't do that you might think we did as far as the eating goes. It's a great book. I highly recommend it, and that's the end of part 1. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.